What is up, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Sibling Rival-Read in person this time,
Hey.
which is awesome. The next bunch of episodes are going to be in person because Anna is here to help with some stuff around the house while we
Uh-huh.
await.
Like an indentured slave.
Yep, exactly that. Um, but feeding you,
Yeah.
treating you right. We're letting you have your dog here, wherever he may be.
Oh, he can be a prick.
Yeah, well, he'll figure it out. Um, on tonight's episode of Sibling Rival-Read,
Was my pick
heck yeah,
and my second great pick. I'm biased.
a little bit.
Yeah.
What are we reading?
The manga of Witch Hat Atelier. Um, yeah, I picked this one originally because it had amazing reviews on the art, and I wanted to see something really great with the art that I was hoping for. Um, and the cover kind of had a fun, almost Art Nouveau meets comic, and the cover lent itself to the entire issue, which is great.
Are you saying that you judged a book by its cover here?
No, I already said that I based it off of reviews saying that the art was great and that it went, okay, I didn't say this part, and that it won an award for its art in the year that it premiered.
One of the things that I find interesting about it, and I only noticed while we were setting up this evening, is that the art and the story were done by the same person.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Um,
Super cool.
Kamome Shirahama. I likely butchered that,
But you tried.
but I tried, and I feel like that is important. Um, so this is our second manga.
It is. And it's technically the second one.
Yeah, technically it is. Um, well, give us. So you gave the reason for why you picked it. Is there?
I knew nothing about the story prior to picking it. So, I mean, me reading the story, I was like, wow, this is so creative.
Yeah. So reading through the story, it was really I it was really neat because they took a different approach to magic than you usually see in comics or anything like
Anything.
that.
I mean,
Um,
anything. You never see magic done in this way or being able to be wielded by anybody.
yeah.
Like, not that I can think of.
Well, so and here's the interesting thing about this month of comics. We did House of
Magic.
M, with where one of the main culprits of the story is the Scarlet Witch, who deals in.
Magic?
Our DC choice was Zatanna, whose superpower is, wait for it.
Magic?
We then go to a fantasy world where you have a sorcerer, a druid, um, and a bard that all are able to use.
Magic?
And then we move on to our manga, which is also heavily fantasy and deals with a lot of.
Magic?
Oh my God, this is February is a magical month, apparently.
It is. And which I think is really fitting because I learned this month on Instagram that February is also called Fabuary for fairies. I mean, obviously not witches, but still fantasy. Look, I thought it was suiting and you're being really quiet. It's just rude. I was funny.
No, but this book took a more methodical and like it made magic kind of like a science and an art together.
It was it's I find it extremely interesting. And I always get really nervous when I'm like, oh my God, this is so unique and so creative because I'm like, man, and then you find like that this is based on such and such and this is based on whatever. And I don't feel like I found anything to
So
make
this
me
is how
believe that.
magic works in D&D most of the time. When you read when you read through like the player's handbook, a lot of there are a lot of spells that are cast by drawing.
But I mean,
Um,
that's how all spells are cast. And I loved the little diagrams that show you what is what, because they always,
yes.
the spells that they cast always look similar.
And then
Unless you're,
the
Coco,
other thing
and
is,
you
so
go crazy.
when did this come out? So
2018?
28
2019?
2019? Is that
It's new and it's still ongoing,
okay? So
which
this came
hurt
out
me.
in
Because I can't
2019.
binge
I have to double check something because there is a novel that where magic is exactly
it.
the
Oh,
same.
no.
It has to be written or drawn. Um,
Oh, this is, you told me to read this
yeah,
book. It's
so
on my audiobook list.
it's a book called Foundry Side, and it's another one of those books. It's God, I just want to know when the book came out. Why isn't there like a Wikipedia page? Where it deals with magic,
Just
but
go
it's
to Amazon. It'll tell you
oh yeah, I guess it will. Um,
2018.
so there is a
Possibility. They were influence.
possibility, but it's a Western
Characters.
writer and this is an Eastern writer, so
And I mean, characters are going to be completely different. And
the characters
storyline's
are
going to be.
completely different. And Foundry Side takes on more of like a steampunk kind
Mhm.
of setting.
The
But
cover
they
to that book is also gorgeous.
Foundry Side,
Yeah.
yeah. But they do a lot of the same kinds of things where the people who create magic and do magic um, build in the manga they build these things called contraptions
Yeah.
which are like items that are enchanted to do special things like levitating shoes and
Hmm.
things like that. And in Foundry Side they do a very similar thing where they etch these runes um, into items like a big one is a horseless carriage. They have a shifter that changes the wheels and makes them think that they're going downhill. And you can adjust the speed by making the wheels think they're going down a steeper hill. And that's what
Gotcha.
makes the wheels roll because the wheels are made to believe that they're going down a steep hill,
Yeah.
and vice versa. It's that kind of thing. It's really quite quite neat. And that's what I kept thinking of every time I was seeing them do anything. And I thought, first off, the cover art completely indicative of what the rest of the book looks like.
Which is amazing.
Like, that's right. um,
There was guided view though on this.
there was guided view.
I mean, just that is, and I totally forgot that mangas are normally black and white. So when I saw this, I go, beautiful colors.
Yeah, and the usage, like, what medium is this to do this kind of coloring? Because it looks watercolory.
It does look watercolory, but I mean, you can accomplish the same thing with different inks as long as you water it down.
Fair enough.
I know a lot of marker artists who are able to blend that make it look like watercolor. It really just depends on the paper.
I got you. But it was fascinating art. This leg, super freaking long.
It's a runner.
I'm just saying, it's a long leg.
But I mean,
It's a
also
long leg.
the animals that they have that they show you are just slightly like abnormal that I had to go back and I was like, is that a deer? Is that not a deer? It has very
They
big ears. And I loved that. I loved the multi-finned whale. I loved that the Pegasus, their wings were actually their ears,
uh-huh.
like
I don't think I actually noticed
Dumbo
that.
style.
Uh-huh. Interesting. Um, and this is one where the story was good, but as I was going through, it was just like I I actually got distracted by the art of this book, and it was really enjoyable. And like as far as mangas go, or just reading goes in general, I did find myself stuck on pages,
Just to look at it.
just to look at it, and like this is like the third page of actually reading it, and the detail on this as she's getting out of the water, and the way that the water clings to the skin, the clothes, all of that is just such a nice detail. And like paying very close attention to like the physics of how water works.
It was so great. Oh my
Like
god. And I
it
mean,
was.
lighting in this manga also was, I thought, really well done. Like with the water cleaning itself and how it glowed. You
Uh-huh.
can, even then it's also just black and white. It's displayed beautifully. And you still get the like comical moments that you got in Pokemon with the whole frustrated artery coming out of the forehead. And
Oh yeah,
I
like
mean,
the classic
yeah, yeah.
manga stuff that you do see.
Yeah, but I mean, I felt like this included everything for me that I want in a comic or a manga. Um, Especially in storyline, because like my biggest point with the Pokemon one was that it didn't really have a through line other than wanting to catch all the Pokemon.
Yeah, I think.
And this one leaves so much for interpretation still because it's just the first volume and it does end in a
Yeah, and this first volume definitely felt very much like an origin story, where I think with Pokemon, yeah, there was the origin story to it, but
you're kind of just
it
thrown
hadn't
in.
figured out exactly what the
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
main objective of the story is. This one, you learn the main objective volume book one or issue one or whatever they're.
Yeah, which I mean, I think I've read more manga than you have overall. Not
Mhm.
saying that that's a good thing or a bad thing, given I always read kind of the same type of stories. But this was very similar to how all of those started out.
Yeah, and it was really neat because yeah,
Sorry.
all of the characters had such personality drawn in them, and I think one of the things that I really liked about this was so much. Um,
I picked a good one.
well, so I like how it opens in saying that does is what was it here back on this page, is an athlete always an athlete even from birth? What about astronauts or pop stars? You can't know what you're going to be until you grow up, right? So what about witches? Is it the same for them? I think this is a great message right off the bat of just being like, hey, you know put your mind to something, figure it out.
Yeah, anyone can be what they want to be.
As long as there's, some work and effort put into it. And you're right, I didn't notice that, but the Pegasus,
Yeah, you see
it's
it
like the
later also.
ear.
You see
Yeah.
it later also with the carriage. I took a screenshot and go, ah, cool.
Here they are.
See?
Yeah. And like this the main character, Coco, her
She works in a fabric shop.
yeah, which,
Is perfect.
the main character Coco, like she is so enamored by magic, and I think it's very definitely shows like the adolescence of her, for sure, like the wonder and magic. It's like she views magic the same way some kids view going to Disney World.
She views magic, though, how anybody in our world would view magic in a world that it's normal. Like, obviously there was adolescence to it. I'm just like, I'm an adult. I would probably be the same way. So would you?
Yeah, I mean,
Comment, not as
for sure.
that you
And
think.
I think the fact that it's presented in such a different way, in this world where the world has been made to believe that only people born with it can do it. But
Flashback sequence with how she got so enamored with magic. Look at that!
yes,
Stunning!
yeah, I yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, and again, like one of the big things that I sit and focus on a lot when I'm reading a book is emotion and facial expressions, and um, the author just does such a wonderful job at it, and the witch wearing a mask, so freaking creepy looking.
So creepy, but at the same time, I'm like, after how it ends, I'm almost expecting, the bad guy to end up not being actually a bad guy and the good guy to actually be the worst person ever. And I'm like, I really hope that doesn't happen. I loved his character.
Yeah, what was his name?
Like, you got to go back
Yeah,
because
no. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I could barely pronounce it every time that I read it. Like, oh, we're going to remember this name.
Yeah, and it's like she gets this picture book and an actual wand.
That has a pen. And I mean,
Yeah.
everyone who reads that is, oh, child. Thinking like those pom-pom pens that you got as
Oh,
a kid.
absolutely.
Until you realize that, the magic is the art.
Okay, so I kept reading in my mind Keyfrey.
Okay.
That could be wrong, and I mean I think I can barely say the name of the person who wrote and did the art for this book. I think there's no U, so I'm saying
go
Keyfrey.
Q.
There you go.
That's his
Q.
name.
Um, and I mean I'm sorry. Real quick, I just want to throw out there. You look at this guy Keyfrey, and you don't immediately assume which.
No.
Like, come on, look at this guy. He
You
is
do
the
though.
most different looking person in the whole book so far, and you look at it and
You
you're like,
go,
well,
oh.
that's going to be obvious.
I thought scientist, which I mean,
Not incorrect.
yeah.
Uh,
Glasses are super cool.
yeah.
I hope the lenses are explained. Like, I hope there's a reason for the lenses.
But
My face was that when I saw that art.
So I think one of the things that I really one of the things I actually do really want to read more of this manga.
Me too. I'm like,
Because
I'm gonna go broker.
I want to know more about like what is up with this girl specifically? Like
Yeah, that she was given the
she's
book
supposed to be
and
the
that
chosen one.
is me.
But like everyone talks about like there's more to her, and everyone knows that there's more to her, except for
Coco. And
yeah,
the other kids.
and
The other
the
kids.
other apprentices.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like these pages where the full page art came out.
Pretty.
Oh, oh, so nice.
But I was too, especially at the end where, you see the witch in the mask again, and she's like, I really just wanted Coco. And I was like, but why? What made you immediately see Coco and go, you?
Yeah.
You can have this book and this pen, and then just disappears into the ether.
And I think Keyfrey brings it up in the book too. It's like one of the things that I think makes her special is how amazed she is by magic.
Yeah.
Because like of the apprentices, she's really the only one that is like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Because she's the one that wasn't always around it in that way.
Exactly.
Something else that I think is
real quick, I just want to throw out there. This was my favorite book or page.
This book, this
page. I like.
I had such
her
a hard time
eyes and like
favorite.
it was the like, oh my god, this thing that I've wanted to do for forever that I've always been told I can't do.
Yeah.
I was just able to do it.
Yeah.
uh,
Pretty.
it really is.
I had such a hard time picking a favorite page because I mean, like with normal comics, with our DC and our Marvel and our Independence, I'm always like approaching it with what would I want as a poster hung up in my room? And the answer is I just want all of the manga as paperbacks. So I can have all the pages in my room.
You just blow them all up and wallpaper your room with pages from this book, right?
That would be
Right?
so busy, but so pretty.
God, could you imagine? You could once
And the
it's all done.
Airstream.
There you go. Once all of it's done, you could just rip every page out of books and just like take a
Plaster
glue
them
roller
on, yeah.
onto it.
Oh yeah.
But like it was pretty early on, but like nothing topped this page for me. Like the detail in her hair, the detail in the eyes, and
The shadowing, but it's so overly exposed because of the light coming from the page so beautifully.
it is amazing. And thank you, Teddy on the Run, for showing some support. But yeah, so this I was a big fan, and like I was already invested in this manga from this from the beginning. But this page, I was like, I cannot wait to see what else Coco does.
I loved her first, well, okay, not her first rune, but the first rune that she makes, or in the after she goes through the portal, the big rune that she makes going through the
Oh
portal,
yeah.
and like that display of power, I was like, dope. She's gonna be an amazing magician for the sole reason that she didn't grow up around it, so she's gonna think like way out of the box. Out of the box.
Um,
Out of the box.
yeah, I agree. So this book is Witch Hat Atelier.
That freaked me out because
Volume
I
1.
thought that was the lady in the mask.
I think it's supposed to be. Like I'm confident in saying like that is probably what that is meant to be.
And then just the next page, he's there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, those not look like the hands of the good guy.
No. But it was so good.
And I mean, he looks terrified. The
Yep.
art is beautiful.
The art is amazing. It's just ah so good. And then just like what ends up happening to the mother, like just after the girl is saying, you know, I would never leave you.
I know.
Oh, so heartbreaking. But it's like every hero needs their, you know, dead parent.
Well, she doesn't have a dad.
I know. Well,
Maybe you find out, you know, in later volumes. But as of this volume, she has no father present.
what if Witch in the Mask is her father?
I have no idea though what gender the witch in the mask is.
I don't either.
Oh, another thing that I mean, this is kind of going out of order.
Thanks for the follow, Teddy on the Run.
Because we're so early into the manga visually, like on the pages that everybody's seeing. But towards the latter half, where they go to the shopping center, that ink shop was amazing.
Oh
and
yeah.
with say his name.
Keyfrey.
Going, my apprentices would never leave. They'd be too captivated. And I'd be like, me too.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I don't know anybody
like,
who wouldn't be captivated by a shop with a huge tree in the middle where they make their own amazing fancy little pens. I am a little sad that I didn't get to see the variety of pens that they sell because I was hopeful.
Right. I was waiting for the wand chooses the wizard
Yeah.
moment.
And then she ran,
Um,
which
Here,
understandable. But...
here, one of my favorite comical parts
Oh yeah, the toilet.
of this book is the freaking toilet where it's like I just went to the bathroom and it went into the void of space. Which can all toilets be like that? Like,
But imagine what astronauts would come across.
space is so big.
Yeah, but it doesn't decompose in space.
No, but it's so big. The likelihood of encountering it is very slim. But like,
It was incredibly funny, and I knew that
I
this was
was
going to be something that
cracking
you were going to
up.
bring up.
Oh my God. I just, could you imagine like, just like, think of things that we use toilets for. Fish funerals. Like, how awesome would it be to give your fish like a Viking funeral into space?
That's what Floppy deserved.
That's what Floppy deserved. Oh my God. But it was, I, I had the biggest grin on my face over Space Toilet for like the
It
next
took me
three
though like
pages.
a good while, and I was like, that can't be. Really?
And then later on when she goes to do the test, and and is like, okay, so I can bring three contraptions with me. Can I bring Space Toilet? It's like,
No.
I mean, yeah. And talk about what a neat mountain range.
Yeah, the build up to this was not at all what I was expecting. You? Like, I had no idea what to expect, but it wasn't floating lumps of earth.
Yeah, I don't know what I was really expecting, but I'm glad that it ended up being what it was, and I feel like the whole like
Oh yeah, I like the little worm dude.
the little worm dude. Um, I really liked her method of going through and completing the challenge because
Me too.
like at the beginning you find out she's very very talented when it comes to
Fabric and
fabric.
millinery and cobblery and amazing in
um
my field.
yeah, essentially. And she goes through and she's like, oh, I can't do, I'm not good at drawing what or writing what everyone else is doing. But you know what? I am good at.
Chalk
Yeah.
block and creates her own ink block, ink stone, pigment stone, whatever.
And then like does she makes like the first like a witch's broom, but it's a kite.
It's a kite.
Like, look at this.
And I mean, you had gotten the information about what these spells are supposed to look like, and you see that and you go,
Uh-oh.
yes. Yeah,
She figured it out.
But it's like, ah. And I really, really, really wish or hope that other characters
And
figure or learn what she did in there and go, how on earth did you draw that? That's not what you're supposed to draw. And she goes, but it worked.
yeah.
Like, I want that to be a storyline.
Yeah, like and this is us knowing very little about the world currently, but taking the knowledge that she knows and just going with, well, works.
Yeah.
Um,
It's all or nothing.
yeah, and God, like it's great. That's part of why I was really looking forward to like the whole witch choosing the wizard like scene
The
potentially.
Wand. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
I know.
Yeah, the wand.
I know.
The wand choosing the wizard scene. Um, because I have to believe that she's going to end up making her own kind of wand.
Yeah, that's more similar to writing with a pigment stone.
Yeah.
I know, that's why I really wanted to see them, or that she's going to end up talking to the apprentice who is making them, and he's going to
Yeah.
customize his own to accommodate that.
Uh-huh.
I'm so excited to see the variety of pens because you also haven't seen any of the other apprentices' pens.
This is true. Yeah. It'll And I mean this author and artist, she has done such a good job at giving a lot of detail to everything except that's not good detail.
The kite. Talking about the
Um,
kite.
but like I mean, look at her flying and the fact like all the wind in her face and
And the
like the
tears.
emotion that's probably going through her at the same time. The tears just like flying by. It's like it's attention to detail like that when I'm reading a book and the art is that great, like look at this. So much emotion and so like it's I have nothing to say about this other than it is so beautifully and beautifully done and just wonderful.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be spending a lot of money because uh the manga isn't finished. There are currently 7 volumes, and the 8th volume is coming out September 14th. I did my homework because halfway through this, I decided I wanted them all.
Like, look how happy she is.
I know, and I mean, like from a costumer standpoint, I'm like, oh, the costumes are also really pretty, and the detail with the pleating is gorgeous. I'm like, great.
I forget her name.
I forget her name also. However, I think that she's going to be a
Agate.
really interesting character.
Yeah. And I mean, her character is in every anime at least.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. And
it's
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 always
like
like the first character that is supposed to be their friend.
right. Like this is God, I don't remember the characters' names in My Hero Academia, but this is the two childhood friends, the one with a quirk and the one without. And like this is My Hero Academia, actually, because okay, maybe we'll read that sometime soon.
Okay.
Um, because it's a kid that starts out having no superpowers in a world full of superpowers,
Hmm.
and then a
That
hero
sounds
gives him
familiar.
superpowers.
Maybe you just told me about it.
It's a good anime, but anyways, it doesn't matter because everything that I know about anime and manga is
They have very
tropes
similar
are
tropes. Yeah.
exactly. Um,
Like I could tell you what characters those are in like magical girl mangas from when I was a kid.
it's like and then you see this everywhere.
Yeah, but and then you see the witch or the wizard in the mask, and the
Well, they are all
so the
called
seed
witches.
has sprouted, and I'm like, but why would you have chosen her as such a tiny person? There's so many questions,
Well, I mean,
and like it ends in a place that nobody expected, including the characters, and you're just like, but I want to know. It ends with a huge cliffhanger, which is great because I'm super invested. And it's fantastic. Yeah, you got to click on that page. That page is the page that I saw when I chose this manga. Because you know how Amazon and Comixology will show you page
uh,
previews? This was it.
yeah,
It was this and the cover.
I love these pages that come up in the book because at the same time the book is telling you the story, it's teaching you how magic is in the world and what it all does and what it's used for and things like that.
Yeah, you're very much learning with Coco, and it's it's quite cute and funny because in her first lesson, he tries to explain how to do things, and she's just like, I have no idea most of the words that just came out of your mouth. And he goes, oh, yeah. Whoops.
You don't know this stuff. But yeah, she was able to recite it back to him almost
Yeah. And then I was like,
exactly.
man, I wish I could have done that with the aperture lesson that you gave me.
Oh, when we did photography.
Yeah.
And I love this kind of stuff where it's like people flying, hanging upside down. It's like this is the kind of stuff I would do. It's like, I can't think. Whoop. Let me just let my back straighten out for a
And I
minute.
like her little zoomies
Yeah.
in the background.
um, I think it's all so cool. And here's the
Look at
the
the
one
shop.
shop, which like I don't know. So like what we've learned is this girl Coco really likes magic, believes that along with the rest of the world, that only people born with magic can use magic. Later find out that everyone used to be able to use magic, but because everyone could use magic, there was a lot of fighting and war, um,
And
because
destruction.
people were using it for the wrong reason. So a group of witches erased everyone in the world's minds
Yep.
to forget that they knew how to do magic
And created rules.
and created rules. One of the big ones being, if you can do magic, you don't tell anyone else that they can also do magic.
And anybody who sees magic immediately has to have their minds wiped.
Right.
And another big one that, I mean, not as big, but that plays into a large portion of, I think, the main storyline and will continue to, is not writing on yourself,
Correct.
only objects.
Yep.
Which is why she was like, I can't draw the levitation spell on my feet.
Right. And then nothing that can, no mind control kind of stuff, no teleportation.
Which is why they have the portals, and yeah,
Exactly.
super cool, super creative.
So I'm looking forward to where the rules came from.
Yeah.
Because like teleportation, I wonder what happened there. Right, I want to know what happens when you write runes on yourself.
Me too, especially in terms like in my head, this is a stupid place probably to go, but in my head, I'm like, does it leave a scar like it did in the Mortal Instruments series, which is a book series, not a comic? Does it take part of you, which is another like thing in the Mortal Instruments series where Forsaken were made by like runes, too many runes being put on a mortal, and maybe they're not, spells aren't meant to be put on people, and eventually they go mad and crazy and kill everybody. Like, I wonder if that's what caused the wars to begin with. Like, there's so many things that could be happening. I'm extremely interested in what this villain with the mask is really trying to accomplish, because you don't know.
Yeah. And I'm also just curious if this is actually our villain.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that it's the villain.
We haven't learned enough. I mean, they're definitely not the hero.
And they're definitely, I mean, in terms of the witch society, is the villain because they're breaking all these laws.
Right. Like this person is doing teleportation magic at the very least.
Yeah. And I mean, they gave a dark spell book to a child.
Yeah.
I'm also interested to know if there are bookstores, because you know that big library is an island. So I wonder if the only way to really learn new spells like that is to be able to be powerful enough to go to the island.
Yeah, you get taught by your master.
Yeah.
And
like maybe the basics are at a bookstore or something, but
well, so the library, any book that's created, a copy of it gets instantly created at that library.
Correct.
So that means that the original
has to be out there somewhere.
Exactly.
Or destroyed. Or destroyed. Because,
right.
I mean, we don't really know what happened. Also, this dragon is amazing.
Freaking dragon, though. Like, what the
hell? It has beautiful wings.
Multiple wings. Like, look at, and like, almost like a triceratops like head.
But
like
with the wings of one of those avatar things.
What are they called? The Toruks.
Yes.
I think they were called Toruks.
I don't
know. Toruk Maktau. What that one guy became.
But
it's been a long time since I've seen Avatar.
Amazing. You didn't watch it after going to Avatar and Disney?
Nope.
Yeah, and then this was just like, baby little lesson at the end of the book, because the book's done now.
Yeah.
At this point.
Really good. Like this was a top tier pick. it's going to be hard to find other mangas that are
just
as good.
good. Yeah.
Um,
I am definitely though going to continue reading reading it.
I think I am too.
I get the monies,
Yeah,
or just off of you.
as I buy them on Comixology.
Yep. I will though eventually get the hardcovers.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Freaking gorgeous book. Like,
And I was almost really nervous. I was like, man, watch the art be amazing, and then the story be like, and I don't think that was the case at all. I hope this podcast episode made people go, I'm totally reading this one because it's so worth it.
it truly is.
And this is not an ad, but the very first one, if you have Kindle Unlimited or Comixology Unlimited, is free.
Yeah. We're trying our best to make sure that most of the books that we choose are available on things like either Comixology Unlimited, Marvel Unlimited, or Kindle Unlimited, because we want to make sure that as many people,
it's as accessible to most people, as possible.
And obviously, like if you don't have those things, picking it up on any of those services is great. Supporting your local comic book store is the best thing that you could possibly do.
And it's so pretty, totally worth having a paperback version.
Yeah, I would almost want to see an actual paperback version of it.
I know.
Just to kind of like flip through. I might go into
that comic book store though that we want to go to. I want to see if they have manga, and if they have this one. I will say that I made Tiffany go out, and she's in New York, and the bookstore that she went to did not have it and paperback.
Bummer. But no, it was really good, and I'd like to actually see this art in
person?
Printed.
Yeah.
Not just digital.
Person. Yeah.
Like some of it I want to touch. And it's really gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Should we jump into ratings?
Yeah.
Okay, so story for me. It's really good. It's really grabbing. But it is similar to a lot of stories that I've read.
Okay.
But that's not a bad thing. I love Star Wars. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Harry Potter. They're all the same story, just with a different skin.
Oh, I thought you were saying this was like Star Wars.
No. I'm saying like all of the same stories can be told all the time and still be amazing,
gripping, and have a huge.
But it's not like I don't think the story is groundbreaking. Just because I'm able to draw parallels to other things that I've read. Mm-hmm. But I will give it, because it was gripping, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10, especially since it was entertaining enough for me to want more. Because while it is very formulaic, I still don't know everything.
I thought you were going to give it an 8, so I'm like, wow.
Yeah, no, the story for me on this book, can I have that pink pen right there? No, I guess not that pink pen.
Like, I gave you the
No.
pen.
I know, but it's not one of the friction pens. So story for me gets a 9. How about you?
So story for me was going to get a 9. I thought you were going to give it an 8. I'm giving it a 9, and the only reason I'm not giving it a 10 is because this is only the first volume. So, I mean, it's incredibly gripping. There's a lot of tropes that I'm like, yeah, okay, of course, this character is going to end up or start out like this way, but then you're going to end up loving them at the end, or they're always going to be a pain in the butt, and you just love them anyway, type of a thing.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's just something that you kind of come to expect that kind of is like, yeah, okay, whatever. But the storyline for me was very unique. I do not really want to read Foundry Side now that you've said that, but thought the magic was unique. But there's still so many ways that I feel like I can't give it a 10.
Foundry Side is
because-
still very different.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
no, I know.
don't get me wrong. It's just the magic aspect of it is similar.
Similar. But I mean, I feel like to give it a 10, I have to be, oh, this manga could do absolutely no wrong. And there are totally ways that this could flop in the end if something happens as the series progresses. I have very high hopes for it, and I don't think that's going to happen, but I'll give it a 9.
And I think something that's important to tell also is the way we're rating mangas is very different than the way we're rating comics, because
Yeah.
like we're legit we know a lot about the characters that we're reading about when it comes to comics. So we are doing a slice of what we know Peter Parker is usually like, what we know of the Robins. All of these are things that go into our ratings when we're talking about comic books. But since both of us, more me than Anna, are so inexperienced with manga,
Mm-hmm.
that none of the mangas that we've read so far are a slice of a character that to us is well known yet. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I would argue with Pokemon.
But Red is even a different character than Ash. It's
Yeah,
not
that's true. Blue was not different than.
Red Blue is different than Gary. But it's interesting because I think if this were an origin story of like a comic book superhero,
Like how they have a Star Wars manga out there in the world, we're probably gonna rate the Star Wars manga more similarly to how we would rate a
comic
normal
book.
comic
Yeah.
book.
Mm-hmm. There's another new manga, Star Wars manga coming out soon. So which one? But
You can't pick 2 Star Wars in 1 month.
I know,
Just
I
saying.
know.
Okay.
I'm not going to choose Star Wars manga. Don't worry. So you're giving story a 9 as well.
Yes. However, for art, 10 out of 10.
Gosh.
You can't even
Real quick.
argue that with me.
Can we go?
Oh,
I'm
man.
not going to do this myself, but let's go back to the first episode, the first issue of Rival-Read, where Anna said, "I'm never going to find the book that I can give art a 10 out of 10."
Which, I mean, in my defense, I have
One
yet to find
and a
it
half
in a
month.
comic book. In a comic book. I didn't expect to ever find it in a manga, but I mean, it is stunning in the manga. I think I will end up comparing all manga to this one. And I mean, I grew up reading Sailor Moon, and anybody who just likes the art of manga, the illustrator for Sailor Moon is highly revered. And so that was my start into it. So I was like, oh, okay. So if they didn't look half as nice as Sailor Moon, I was like, I can't read this. It's going to bother me. And so this was just absolutely stunning, something completely different. The lighting elements, the detail elements, also the age of the characters actually looking like the age of the characters. It was great.
Yeah.
And the fantasy aspect of it, I felt was extremely creative. The Pegasus with the ears and the whales with the multi-fins, and
we brought that up last week too, where it's like, I want more fantasy.
yeah.
This definitely answered my prayers on fantasy. Now, if I can find a comic book that does that too, even better.
I'm like a little sad that I already found my 10 out of 10 so early, but it was so pretty. What are you giving it?
Art gets a 10 out of 10 for me as well. Like, hands down. I was enthralled by the art of this book, the shading, because like all of the textures. I look at these like raven wings behind this.
The detail that she went back and was like, I'm gonna do a border for this page because it's a dramatic page, or like the opening of a chapter. Those incredibly detailed borders that fall into it. I'm just like, oh, it's so extra and so beautifully put, and like extra in a good way, not extra in like a, oh my God, that's so extra.
It was awesome. I loved this book.
I'm excited to know more about the apprentice character. He's going to play a bigger part.
Yeah,
The apprentice
obviously.
wand maker.
Yeah, obviously, especially since Coco seemed to fawn over him for just a moment.
Over the wand.
Yeah. Again, there are some things that are just really predictable when it comes to comics, and as I am finding manga, and I believe that that is one of them. We might find out, like in volume 2, that when we both read, that Anna's going to be like, "Nope, Ben, you were wrong," and I will eat my words.
And I'll make sure of it.
So overall, I give it a 9. Enough to make me want to read more.
So my gut and my heart is wanting me to give it a 10. And I don't know if that's really fair. Mostly just because like I picked it and I had high hopes for it. It was everything that I wanted it to be. So I'm going into it slightly biased with the overall score.
Yeah, I think you give it what you deem is reasonable. I think,
And I do want all of them. Even if the story ends up bad, the art is amazing.
if the story ends up bad, I will lose interest in it.
I will lose interest, but I will not stop buying them for the art. You would.
Yes,
and
I
I
would.
get that.
I'm more story heavy, but it's interesting. I'm excited to see how long this one goes. If they made this into an anime,
All in.
all in, 100%. But I want the art style to be similar to the book.
I agree.
Like I want like a 90s looking anime for this almost.
I want it to look like how it looks.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, the only issue that I have with the 90s anime style is you get so much value reading in this black and white, and in 90s anime style, you do not.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
I think that there's, though, a between with the 90s anime style and this, like, new crystal age style.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this one would fall between. I do think that this has the potential to run for an eternity, which would both be amazing, and Anna would be broke, because I'd be interested to see how the characters progress as they get older.
So I don't know. Is it common for a manga to have the same person writing the story and the art? Is that like a common thing? And if
I'm
and
a very bad person. I don't
and
normally.
the other thing that I'm curious about is this is the manga written by the same person for every volume?
Yeah, I
It
believe
is?
so. I believe so.
I can't imagine one single person doing all of the art and all of the story for this for a long amount of time.
Well, it takes like 6 months of volume. I will also say that there have been artists and writers for manga that have been the same person, and that person dies, and then nobody finishes the manga.
What you're saying is you're hoping nobody writes Kamome Shirahama in their Death Note.
But yeah, that's it.
It's a manga too.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Because yeah. But I mean, you can. There are also artists and writers who will pick up the story as a continuation. So I mean, it could very well be that she finishes her story arc, and then someone approaches her years later and it's like, I would like to continue this, but like 10 years in the future. And as long as the art is just as good, still heavily invested. Maybe. Who knows? But
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked it A lot.
And I won this month.
Yeah, we're gonna have our next issue is going to be our usual discussion of what our next 4 books are going to be. We do actually have a Wheel of Torture. We haven't figured out what we're calling the wheel yet, and I don't like Wheel of Torture.
Wheel of Misfortune.
Okay, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we'll roll the Wheel of Misfortune twice.
Because I lost last month, and you clearly lost this month.
Yeah. Yes, I did. And we'll have our new books chosen for the next 4 weeks. And we're gonna start a new trend where on these in between issues where we're announcing books and everything, we are going to have a discussion on in a fight who would win between a main character from our Marvel comic and a main character from our DC comic.
Which, shout out to our youngest sister for like steamrolling that idea, essentially along.
Yeah, because we have our family text chat, and she sent us this message of
our favorite superheroes against each
So
other.
who would win in a fight, Nightwing versus Spider-Man?
Which we came to a very civil conclusion.
We did. We won't discuss it now.
No,
that'll be good conversation for another time. So next week we'll be talking about a fight between the Scarlet Witch and Zatanna.
Which is gonna win?
WWW. Which wins?
Ooh, or world.
So yeah, make sure to check us. We'll be back here next week. There might be a date change on the show based on the fact that we're in the same house now, and my wife wakes up at 3:00 in the morning to go to work. And I know that we can both get pretty loud, and since we're both in the same room, we might need to adjust the day that we do this. But keep an eye on my Twitter or any of my social media. It's BenPai, ITSBENPAI. Anna, where can people find you on the internet?
On the Instagram, I have 2 accounts. A personal account is Anna_Riddick, and my art account is Riddick_designs. Yeah, which will be, overflowing with projects while I'm here.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of wood back here that needs to be burnt. And
then I brought over 40 illustrations that I still need.
Woohoo! And we did a bunch of photo shoots of her work that's currently selling on her Etsy.
Yep, it'll be updated at the end of this week.
Yeah, we should have it done by the end of the week for sure. Cool. At least the pictures will be done by the end of the week.
I'll work on the blurbs this week.
Yeah, cool. So thank you guys so much for stopping by. And until next week,
Shalom-Aste!
My God, I hate it so much.
You love it. You love it.